Hey everyone, and welcome back to Let's Talk About It. I'm here with one of my honestly favorite people. I love Ashely. I met her some years ago. Oh my gosh, at a mutual, it was her friend's wedding. But me and her met, we connected, and I wanted to have her on here today because she's honestly probably one of the most genuine people I have met. You don't see no fakery. You don't see no messiness, no drama, no none of that. And if you guys know me very well, you know that I like to run around people like that, people that are very true to who they are. And more importantly, she is so committed to her craft. She is so committed to giving great experiences to people, which I think is a lost art sometimes, that, giving people a real true experience. And so I wanted to talk to her today because she has so much wisdom and so much insights to building and growing in a very real way, not about fast, not quick, not this, that, and the other, but in a very genuine, real way. So welcome, Ashely.
Thank you. I'm absolutely honored to be here with you, and I just can't stop smiling. I'm so grateful for your friendship and for your connection over the years, and you truly have been such a huge inspiration and female figure in my life, and always being reminded of what is possible. And I'm honored to be a part of your community and your tribe and your
Yes,
village, and
always.
a sister on this journey.
Yeah, thank you. So tell us a little bit about yourself, whatever you want to share before we jump into the cracks of everything.
Oh, geez. Yeah.
She's like, oh, wait a minute.
I feel so grateful every day. So I am married to an incredibly sincere, loving, dedicated South African man who I'm obsessed with. I love him so much, and I'm just honored to be in a partnership with someone who is just so passionate and committed. We just recently went through his journey of becoming a firefighter for Orange County here in California, which has been huge because he's a South African immigrant, and it took us 3 years to get him here. And then it was a very long journey. And after 3 years of getting him here, 5 years of being here, he's finally a citizen and a firefighter. And I'm in awe of the man that he's become, and more so the father he's become. We have a very rambunctious, curious, and just like rad daughter. She'll be 3 in July of this year.
Oh my gosh.
I know it goes way too fast. And she really has become my greatest teacher, in more ways than she has changed my life in every way possible. And although some of the days are hard, she has changed it just for the better. And we live in the mountains in Southern California. We've got a mountain home surrounded by trees, and then we have a 5-month-old puppy named Malima, which means mountain in Swahili. And then we have our cats, Zaleo and Askari, which Zaleo is today in Swahili and Askari is protector. So
oh wow.
We've got our little feline and animal crew with us as well.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about what you do as your career.
Oh, geez. Okay. So I think I'm going to back up a little bit and tell a quick version of my journey. Out of college, I worked for PBS, the local television station, and I was so blessed to be able to have so much trust and creativity and freedom. But I just knew that it wasn't my purpose in life. I loved it. I loved the people I worked with. So back in 2012, I finally lived out a lifelong dream of wanting to teach English in Tanzania, or at that time, it was more specifically just somewhere in Africa. And then I narrowed in on teaching English in Tanzania. And that was kind of the snowball of me coming into myself in terms of just really living a vulnerable, authentic, what I call my dream life. And so after being in Tanzania, I came home with just the passion and knowledge and love of falling in love with myself and my village and the community, and being a part of a community that was so different than what I'd ever known, but
Mm-hmm.
loved and accepted me so fully,
Yeah.
like regardless of
Yeah.
who I was or what I brought with me, and like everything that had previously defined me before that moment didn't
Yeah.
matter.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just came home with all of that, and um, I really made a commitment to expand what I was doing. And
Mm-hmm.
so I had gone back to working at PBS. They were amazing and gave me a sabbatical.
Okay.
And so I got to go back to my job, which was a really nice financial foundation. And then from there, I got my yoga teaching certification to explore that avenue. And then I got my TEFL certification, which is to teach English as a foreign language.
Okay.
And I dove deeper into my passion of photography.
Mm-hmm.
And so for 3 years, I utilized my passion of photography, my yoga teaching certification, my TEFL certification, and I lived in South Africa, Tanzania, and Costa Rica, teaching English, falling in love, meeting my husband, Dan. I met him in Tanzania. And so in 2015, I came home from those adventures, and I inhabited my childhood bedroom at my parents' house. I had a old car that was just so reliable, $700
Yeah.
to the name, and I ignited my photography business. And so Ashely Strong Photography was birthed. And I literally spent every waking moment that I could expanding this business, coming into my style, like really working on what I wanted being a photographer and a business owner. And so exclusively from about 2015 to 2020, I did photography for couples, families, and lifestyle portraits. So anything from engagements to weddings, pregnancies, birth, anniversaries, new businesses, everything in between. I had the honor of documenting. And then in 2000, just after the pandemic, so actually in 2021, I launched the first phase of my business expanding, where at the time it was photography mentorship. And so I was focusing on mentoring other photographers on not only the business side of things, but also the actual shooting side of things.
Right.
And more so recently, I really come into and been so passionate about one, I've expanded my business to be able to do this, but to really work with female entrepreneurs to create intentional businesses that enable them to build and live their dream life, coinciding one another. And so that's really where my emphasis has been recently, as I'm still photographing a ton of weddings and my like core clients, but I'm really expanding into this very vulnerable educational space to use my knowledge and expertise and everything I've learned along this journey to really support females.
So let me ask you this. What did you see that was missing with female entrepreneurs to where you felt like, okay, I need to be in this space to kind of create something more intentional?
If I'm being completely honest and vulnerable, I think one of the biggest things that like I witnessed is we are living in a culture where social media is a huge guiding force. And although it has such beautiful powers and it has this like ability to connect people who have never been connected before, it also can be very misleading.
Yeah.
And I have really come into this like knowing that like life can look so much better than it actually feels. And so my mission has been to really dive into the pieces in my own life of making sure that my life feels better than it looks, and then utilizing those tools and resources to support other women, because I think all too often these journeys feel lonely. Like I recently shared something about being a mom, and I've been struggling being a mom. I mean, it's the greatest gift of this lifetime and it's the greatest journey, but like I would be denying myself my truth if I didn't say it's been hard. And I really feel like I would be denying other women, other moms, other female mom entrepreneurs like, I would be denying them of this like mirrored image and truth that like it is not always a picture perfect box. Like
Yeah.
life
Yeah.
is hard and it's beautiful and it's messy and it's organized and
Yes.
it can be all of it together as
Hmm.
long as there's intentionality. And
Right.
so I've just really like tapped into that, and I have really come into and understood like how much it's taken for me and my family to build this life that like every single day I feel so blessed to
Hmm.
call our life, that
Yeah.
like I want to be an inspiration, and not just an inspiration, but like I want to be able to give people concrete information and like how to's and everything I've done to get to this point, because
Hmm.
we're all here to teach and to learn. And
Yeah.
the way that I've been able to like get to where I am today is by getting to witness women like yourself who are living these exceptionally inspirational lives, and knowing that we all have it in us if we want it.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
let me ask you this, because something about you that I've always loved and is connected to is that you are very vulnerable and that you're very honest. You are, I mean, I don't think there's a question I couldn't ask you that you wouldn't be honest about.
Oh,
But there's a
God.
lot of people that are not comfortable being that way publicly. And you
Mm.
are, and well, you're starting
Mm.
to grow into that space more. So can you tell me a little bit, how did you get to the place? Because I think that's one thing that a lot of women in business feel like, I don't want to put my business out there. I don't want this, that, and the other. So let me put out there the perfectly crafted image, because if I
Mm.
show this, or if I show the realism of it is a little bit hard, then people are not going to want to talk to me or be attracted to what I'm doing and what have you. How did you get to the place where you're comfortable in that space?
Oh, I love that question, Kim. If I can just take a breath, because that
Yes.
like, oh,
Yeah.
I think it's a part of just my being. I've always like yearned for and loved human connection, and like getting to like actually like I want to know someone's like heart and soul, like
Mhm.
I want to know like what actually like inspires you, or like what
Yeah.
actually like I just like I want to know the inner depths and inner
Yeah.
workings, and like I think it's gone through phases. I think what I experienced in it's kind of crazy. I'm actually getting emotional. But I think what I've experienced in living and being able to be submerged in communities around the world, I think that was one piece, because I've realized like even in areas where I didn't know the native language, there was always this common thread of being able to communicate. And it was by just like being with each other and just sharing the little bit that we had the vocabulary to do so.
Mhm.
And then it expanded further into like the journey that it took to get my husband to the United States. I had never understood the immigration system and just what it took to get someone who was not born in the country to be able to be in that country. And so then going through that experience and realizing how many other people have had to go through that experience,
Mhm.
and then it was like me really working in and doing personal development and like pulling back these layers to like really like, okay, there's this outside version of me and there's this expected version of me, but like,
Right.
what do I really want and what do I really need and what actually is my dream life? And
Mhm.
so it was going through that phase. And then what like topped it all over was my daughter being born. And I
Yeah.
just went through, never in my life, like have I been able to experience this like depth and this love and this connection and
Mhm.
this like rawness as I have like being pregnant and giving birth and then now raising a human.
Yeah.
So it's like major moments in my life, like the
Mhm.
way that I was able to get through it was like connecting with the people who are like my people.
Right. Right.
And I just like, the more I was truthful to myself, the more I was
Mhm.
able to be truthful in connection with other people. And the more I was able to get to like the depth of people's existence. And I
Right.
just, I thrive on that. And I just feel like people, the better that we understand ourselves, the better that we can support other people, and the better
Mhm.
this world will ultimately become.
Yeah,
And
I
so I've
agree.
just been committed to like, I want to pull back my layers, whether they are like positive or negative, whether they're like joyful or sad. Like I want to pull them back, digest them, understand them, and then be able to share them with the world, because I know that if I've gone through it, other people are going through it.
Right.
You know, like
that's true.
The only way that we're going to build trust and community is through these common understandings and knowings that we're all human. We're all going through it, and we really are. I truly believe that people are doing the best that they can. I truly believe, but like we only know what we know, you know? And so it's like, I think it's our duty to shine our light so that other people can be inspired and like know what life is like for not just ourselves. If that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense. It makes absolutely sense.
I get so like, it's just, I'm like, get very just passionate about it. And it all,
well, I mean, it was a very honest topic, you know? And I have a couple of questions I have here for you, but I do want to kind of still ask another question based off of what you shared, because it's really great information. How does not being true to you affect you as a businesswoman? If someone says, but you know, because that is something I feel a lot of women battle with behind closed doors, not feeling true to who they are, but feeling the pressure of putting out something that, like I said, perfectly packaged. So what would you share from your experience, maybe from women that you know, or maybe yourself? What is the effect of that, not doing it?
Oh, that is such a good question. I think like there is a noticeable difference of when I'm being true to myself and taking care of myself in the way that like I unapologetically need to, versus when I am doing things because I feel like I'm supposed to do them, or when I'm not taking care of myself. I think when I'm in alignment, taking care of myself, pulling back the layers and doing the work, I am able to be in deeper conversation with people. I'm able to be so much more present and human with people. I think that's like a huge things I've tapped into, and why photography has been this like massive inspiration is like, it gives me the opportunity to connect with and be human with people of every origin, every class, every race, every background, every like history. And that it goes back to that human factor. Like we are human beings doing this together. And even though I am a business owner and entrepreneur, I am a being and a mother with like a heart that beats and a soul that beats for things. And so does every other person. And so I am able to like be in it with them. When I am not taking care of myself and I'm not being true to myself, that's when I get judgmental. That's when I get angry. That's when I snap. That's when I'm not present. That's when I like, if someone's late for their photo shoot, I get agitated, you know? And yes, that's all human emotion, but that is not the human emotion and like vibration that I want to operate my life at.
Thank you. And I appreciate you saying that, because I think those are the conversations that need to be had more. You know, when you're not being true to yourself, what is the byproduct of that? Because sometimes we don't even realize why consequences are happening. Or I shouldn't say consequences, but these different actions are happening, and we're trying to figure out where the origin is. And oftentimes it's because you don't feel good. So when you're not feeling 100%, you're putting out things that are not going to be 100%. You're not going to feel as connected to what you're doing. And I think that this is a very viable conversation, needs to be had more often. It just needs to be.
I couldn't agree with you more. And I couldn't agree with you more.
So let me ask you, I have a question for you. So what practices have you adopted over the years that have helped you stay inspired, intentional, motivated, and focused? Like all the things.
All the things.
Yes.
Okay. So there's been, there's a lot. And I think one of the things I want to preface it with is like, as the stages of my life have evolved, so too have my practices. So like what I did before my daughter was born, I didn't do after my daughter was born. What I did when my daughter was 1 year old, I don't do now when she's almost 3 years old. And so it's definitely, I think that's the number one thing is like with adopting and like utilizing these practices is like honoring where you are in your stage of life and knowing what was possible then may not be possible now. And that is okay.
Yeah.
With that being said, I think some of the common threads is I am a huge goal and intention setting person. So like every week, it like even starts with the tactical stuff of like, I look at my calendar for the next couple of weeks, I set my goals for that week. And then I really like with setting my intentions, it's more so like how I want to feel through the process. I do a lot of connecting with nature. We moved up to the mountains. It was one of the huge inspirations for being up here. We're very outdoorsy. We love hiking. I love running. And so I like running is my like equilibrium. Spend a lot of time with my family, which is really important. I think that's something that like earlier when I was talking about like one of my biggest goals and passions and commitments in working with female entrepreneurs is like, not only do I want to help them and support them in their business endeavors, like I want them to be able to do that, to be able to create the lifestyle that they want, whatever that looks like for them. And for me, with my husband being a firefighter, he's gone for days on end, but then he's home for days on end. And it's like, I want to be present and with my family as much as I feasibly can when we're all home together. A big thing that keeps me motivated and inspired is I've learned that I had just said, like, I'm a goal setter. Like I've learned that I need to set pretty big goals for myself. And so this time last year, I ran my first half marathon when we lived out.
I remember.
And I've been, since we moved up to the mountains, it's 6,000 feet elevation, which has been a lot to get used to. I didn't realize how much it would take our bodies to acclimate to being so high. But I'm actually halfway through my training for my half marathon up here in the mountains at 6,000 feet elevation. And I need to set a goal for myself to be reminded in my personal life how strong I am and what I'm capable of, because then that gets mirrored in my business.
I love that.
A lot of things is I talk to myself a lot. I'll always ask myself, like, does this make me feel heavy or light? Like, where am I in this moment? Like, what do I need? Like, what is present? Recently, this past year, I'm very blessed to have had the opportunity to join a mastermind with this sensational woman named Elizabeth Hartkey, who I heard on a podcast last year. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like she is she is the woman that I aspire to be. And through research and stuff, I found out she had a mastermind, and then it was a whole interview process, but it's myself and 18 other women in this mastermind. And so with that, I think one of the biggest things is like constantly doing stuff to challenge myself personally and professionally. And I think I'm at the point now where like I was ready for deeper, more intense guidance. And that's exactly what this is. A lot of things is I listen to a lot of podcasts, I read books, I'm really into tarot and oracle cards. I use those for a means of communication and inspiration. And then another huge thing that keeps me like really inspired and motivated is back before the pandemic in 2019, I had started a women's group called Sisterhood Circle, and we meet once a month around intentional topics. It went for about a year, and then COVID hit, and it just didn't resonate to do it online and Zoom, because a huge part of it was having that like physical human connection. And so recently it just got reignited, and it's a space where like women can come together and be fully vulnerable, and we connect around a common, like, so each month it's themed. So anywhere from like self-care rituals to connection, to bettering relationships, to how to be a better leader, to whatever it may be. It really has created this space where like women can fully come in and just like let their guards down and be themselves. And it's just been this like huge inspiration, because I've learned so much, and I'm constantly reminded by how much we all are going through. but the world never knows because of what we hold in. And this space is just a reminder, like, to constantly treat everyone with as much care and respect as possible, because the layers go so deep. Yeah.
Oh, you're done? I'm like, girl, you have a great list. I'm just sitting there like listening, like, oh my God, these are some really great practices. You're like,
Keep going.
But I think, no, I love that you have a list of them, because I think that no, I really do, because that is very much you too, very organized, and you do have lists. But what I love about it the most, though, is that you have very intentional things that you do to help you succeed and help keep you in a place of being motivated and focused. Because I feel like if you don't have those things, or whatever the practices might be for someone, if you don't have them, it's so easy to get off track. It's so easy to lose focus. It's so easy to even just beat yourself up because you're not doing X, Y, and Z. So I think having that is like kind of like a guidepost. It keeps you like going forward and keeps you, focused, like you said. So I love that. I really do.
I love it.
Oh,
I was just going to say, like, having that goal or guidepost or whatever you want to call it to work towards is just a beautiful way of staying committed and accountable and motivated. And then when you get there, it's like, oh, it's the greatest feeling in the world. It's like, okay, I did that. Like, what else can I do?
Well, there's also two things you said too that I also is key. And then I have a couple more questions for you. When you mentioned about setting really big goals, I think that allows you room to stretch yourself and allows you room to grow. I think that having that and putting that into place too is very, very key, especially as women in business and women that, I know you're going to be mentoring soon and what have you. What would you say to someone that feels like, I've done that, Ashely, and when I do that, I crash and burn because it's too big, it's too this, it feels unattainable? What would you speak to her?
Oh, I love that you asked that. So if you set a goal and it feels too big, I mean, my brain immediately goes to like, I forget what those maps are called, where you have something in the middle and then lines shoot off to the side.
Like a mind map.
Yeah.
I can't think of the name of it, but yeah.
But that's immediately where my mind goes. But it's like, for me, it's like, if you've got this big goal, like break it down. So I'm going to use my half marathon training, for example. So a half marathon is 13.1 miles. So I literally, it sounds like a lot, but like, so with the training though, I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. Then I did the research. So start there. Whatever your goal is, I'm just, like I said, using this as an example to run a half marathon. The second step, do some research, go into the inquiry. How have other people trained? What have people done? Are there roadmaps out there? Does it resonate with you to follow them? Do you want to create your own? Okay. Step 2. Step 3 for me, I then broke it down. So I'm like, okay, if I need to get to 13.1 miles, I know that I need to every week increase my mileage. I'm literally going to start at mile 1. So the first week, my goal is to run 1 mile. So that was week 1. And put that in my calendar. And then, so for something I do is I'm a little bit of an organizing geek over here. Like, the first job I ever had was a scrapbooking store. And then I wanted to do like personalized organizing for people, because I was like, I can use the scrapbooking paper to like organize people's, oh gosh. Anyways, so what I literally did was I went through my calendar and I worked through and literally wrote in exactly which days I will be running and how many miles I need to run that day. And it is in big black markers circled. So if I white it out, it's going to be real visible if I white it out. And I literally have mapped it out. So for the 13 weeks that it's going to take me to train to do this, I know exactly what days I need to be running, how much. I've done the research for the things to help track my mileage, to figure out where I'm running. And then I literally on my calendar have the day where I am running this half marathon by myself. It is on my calendar. And then it's beautiful because I'm like, it is there. I've made the time for it. I've penciled it in. I'm so blessed to have a husband who is like, you do you, tell me what you need to do. And so I'm like, okay, these are the days that I'm running. This is what I need. And so the biggest thing is be tactical, but I guess what I'm trying to say too is break it down into small things. Day by day, week by week. If I think about 13.1, I'm like, who are you kidding? Like, I am not running 13.1 miles. But on Monday, I ran 5 miles, and I kid you not, I was so distracted because I was just like in it that I like got lost, and I wound up running way more than 5 miles because I was just like exploring neighborhoods and like listening to music. And I was so into just being with myself that I forgot what it was that I actually was working towards. And so it's like, break it down, but it's enjoy it for what it is and make it work for where you're at. Like it has to work for your lifestyle.
I love that. And I also love too that you left room for whatever it needs to be. You know, we can have our plans, but still leave room for whatever comes up. Because I think if we're not flexible to the journey that we're on, we can create something that we don't really want to create. Exactly. You know? So for you, 2 questions. What legacy do you want to leave? Like, what is it that you want, when they say your name, what do you want people to think of when they think of you?
I absolutely want to be an inspiration and a reminder in knowing that absolutely anything is possible. That any vision can become a reality, that living your dream life can happen today. And that, like, I think for me, something else that I think of is like this whole idea of perfect and perfection. And for me, like, I tapped into this as being a photographer. Like, for me, perfection is in the moment. And I just want to be a reminder that like anything can be whatever you want it to be. You just have to stay in the moment. And when you're in that moment, you can feel the gratitude, and you can feel whatever is present. And then that then will inspire you to do the next thing. And I want to be a damn good mama and wife and just friend and community leader. Like I want, it's like the signs you see out when you go hiking. It's like, leave the place better than when you found it. It's like, I want to leave this world better and brighter and more inspired and more motivated than it was before.
I love that. We always say that whenever someone comes to our home, that we want them to leave better than when they entered in. We just believe that. We do. So that's what we want us to do in our home. So I love that you said that.
I love that.
So let me ask you, so where can someone find you, and how can they work with you? Like, share all that information.
So you can find me, the 2 best ways is on Instagram. So it's Ashely Strong Smith _ And then on there, you get a taste of everything, to be honest with you. You get a little bit of my photography experience. You get my motherhood journey. You definitely get to see my handsome firefighter husband on there. But you also get to witness like all the ins and outs of what I do to build this intentional business in life. Like today on my Instagram, all day is Work With Me Wednesday. And so literally everything that I am doing today, I try to document in some way to share, to get deeper insight in like how I run my life and my business. And then on my website, so it's ashleystrongsmith.com. Those are the 2 biggest areas. And then how you can work with me is twofold these days, which is quite fun. So documenting sacred time capsules. So I do that for couples, families, and female entrepreneurs. My photos are very vibrant. They're very candid. They're very full of life, and they're very loving. And then exciting through my educational space. So you can do one-on-one mentorships with me, or coaching sessions, where we dive into all the how-tos of being an entrepreneur, and coinciding and mirroring, creating and living your dream life. So I've got one-on-one coaching per the hour, a 3-month coaching session, and a 6-month coaching session. Yeah.
So excited you're diving into that space. You know, even when I said in the beginning that you are full of wisdom, you really are. And what I like about it is that you are a documenter. So it helps people to kind of see the steps that you've taken. And I can share with everyone too, like she mentored my husband with the photography. And it, I mean, you only have one session, you know, and it like changed the landscape. I mean, it was just that, um, I'm trying to think of the best word. I can't even think of the best word to use in that, but it was just that impactful, and that it made such an impression on him. And it has not left that impression, if you will. He's still in what you taught. So if anyone's in that space or not a photographer, I can't see why you wouldn't leave that same space, that same impact for someone in women in business, because you're so intentional about the things that you do. And I think women need to be a part of a type of group where they can be vulnerable and be able to say, you know what, today's a hard day. It's not going well. And I'm thinking about quitting, or I'm just really frustrated, or whatever it might be. And then having that community of women to kind of help them, but more importantly, give them the practical tools too. Because I think that's a good combination I've learned about you over the years. You're very intentional and very vulnerable, but you also give really good information. And I think that's what is lacking a lot in the marketplace today, is that real information, like how, give me the hows. Like I know my whys, but give me the hows. And I feel like you can answer that really well.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. I mean, and I was honored to be able to work with your husband and watching the like progression and transition of his photography has just been such like, I don't know, it's such a privilege to be witness to that. But yeah, I completely agree with you. And I think all too often we see people who have gotten to a place, but how they got to that place is so hard to decipher. And for me, it's like, I want to know exactly how to, like how I had said earlier with the half marathon training, like, I want to know exactly how to start with 1 mile to get to 13.1 miles, you know, it's like so many women and entrepreneurs in general, like there is so much unknown. And to have a guide and someone holding your hand to ignite that process, I am here for it.
Well, I'm glad that you are. I love that you're moving into this space. So, and we're going to post all your information too when we share this. So I am so grateful that you spent time with us today. Thank you for everything that you shared, honestly. Is there any closing thoughts you want to leave before we close out?
I'm just so grateful, and I'm just honored to be on this journey alongside you. And I think if I could just like leave the listeners with any piece of advice, is like trust in yourself and know that with that trust in yourself, that anything is possible.
Yeah, I agree. That's like the perfect thing to leave on. It's true. Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate your time, Ashely. All right, guys, tune in. We'll put all her information on there. And thank you for joining us for another Let's Talk About It.